Bringing you into the conversation, Let's Talk Cincy debuted on March 2nd, 2019, with the goal of including your voice in discussing topics important to Greater Cincinnati. Over the course of 100 episodes, we've tackled hard issues like teen violence.
My wife was with us too. She yelled, "That's not fireworks, that's a gunshot." And as soon as she said that, there was probably 50 people came running up from the bottom street there.
While also highlighting the good in our community.
We have 7 programs, and all the programs have something to do with mental or physical or the spiritual. And for me, as an old guy, it continues to energize me.
From featuring the Anthony Munoz Foundation to tackling the pandemic.
I've gotten both of my shots. Now, I may die of many things, but since I've been vaccinated, I will not be dying of COVID.
Join us in celebrating 100 episodes of Let's Talk Cincy. From WLWT, this is Let's Talk Cincy, presented by Western and Southern Financial Group. Put our financial strength behind you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Curtis Fuller, and welcome to Let's Talk Cincy. Today, we celebrate the 100th episode of our program. We've experienced a lot over the past 2 years, from a pandemic to social unrest, and so much more. At times, it seems the world has turned upside down. But during this time, we've also been able to just talk. We've pierced through the hate and the anger and the frustration and realized, as the writer Tucker Elliott said, there is more good in the world than there is bad. We just need to hear about it. We just need to see it. Our first Let's Talk story is a perfect example of that. Businessman Buddy LaRosa and his family saving lives through boxing.
Boxing just gives you so much confidence.
There are no barriers. We're trying to help our kids become all that they can be. If we can save kids one at a time, that's worth it.
He told me that I'm gonna be something different than a lot of kids would. I started when I was 5 years old, had my first fight when I was 8. When I was 5, I just wanted to get in the ring and just fight. My coach, Mike Stanford, he took his time with me. He started making me learn the basics with the jabs and using my steps, how to throw my punches right. Because I just wanted to just go in there and just fight like I was on the streets or something.
There's so much history in this building, in this neighborhood, in Cincinnati, and it's all kind of reflected in this gym.
Some of them are at a real disadvantage. It's going to be really hard for some of them. But if we can make a little bit of a difference, and that's because we provide a family here for them, it's worth it.
As a kid, it's a big stage of bullying going on, so boxing just gives you so much confidence.
Just having kids coming in, slapping that bag and using up energy rather than getting in trouble out in the street, those are my proudest moments.
Well, let's talk about another example of transforming lives. Something started more than 30 years ago. We found it at the intersection of philanthropy and corporate leadership. Cincinnati has the rather unique distinction of leading the way in the corporate community. The Queen City having as many companies headquartered here as Cleveland, Indianapolis, and Columbus combined. That is just part of the insight we got in our exclusive interview with 2 of Cincinnati's most respected business leaders, John Barrett and John Pepper.
Our deal, though, we've got to recruit 1, 2, or 3 more Fortune 500 companies. Even if the headquarters staff is 100 people or less, what follows them in service organizations to serve those companies is monstrous.
John Barrett is the chairman, president, and CEO of Western and Southern. John Pepper is the retired CEO and chairman of Procter & Gamble. Also, the one-time chairman of the Walt Disney Company and the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center. They made education a top priority in the corporate community 30 years ago and helped raise millions of dollars for the Cincinnati Scholarship Foundation.
The Scholarship Association has everything to do with what the long-term I won't say solution, but making real progress and allowing everybody to have a gainful employment and the kind of life we want for our children and our grandchildren. And that's a task that we really are about as a city, and I'm very pleased with that.
Well, one of the goals of Let's Talk Cincy is to listen to as many voices as we can. It became even more important as we talked about social justice. Maybe one of the best lessons came in the form of spoken word by a talented young man named Reggie Johnson.
A world divided. We live in a world where things such as black and white, things that should be black and white, become gray and selective depending on topics. The trending topic for several years is what lives matter. There shouldn't be a disconnect, but people should connect the dots and paint the picture of the two different worlds that we live in. Enter the multiverse. Racism marvels and our leaders want to snap away the problem with their Thanos fingers. We're not the problem. We've just been living in this infinite war for generation after generation, where we become conditioned that in order for us to make a change, we must incite a reaction. We have voices, we have actions, we have power, we matter. And we will be our own Avengers creating these blockbuster moments for history, that when people read in textbooks, they will have to fully digest all of this. We are distraught, we are angry, we are drained, we are tired, we are done. We see sometimes what we want to see. We hear only key words or phrases that make us go through these phases of dealing with consequences that a normal troubled heart faces. We are sometimes afraid to speak rationally, so through irrational actions we get our point across. All of these things equate to the world we live in. I usually don't do this, speak my mind on current events. But when the events currently have me sometimes afraid to do anything, let alone misbehave, I just go numb. Everything goes black. I start to see white, and then we're back in this gray area. I just want things to change. I want my mind to be at ease, because right now, it's a constant struggle between sadness and anger, and I know people can relate.
Economic freedom is a big part of the social justice movement and closing the divide. Lacey Roberts shares some of the stories of local entrepreneurs, the joys and pains.
Black-owned businesses contribute more than just to the bottom line in Greater Cincinnati. They also add to the cultural and educational fabric of our community.
Right now, we piloting a program, a Reading for Barbers program, which will be able to help kids come down. They'll be able to read a book to the barber out loud, and if they struggle with any words or anything like that, we'll be able to help them.
And helping is also the mission of the Soul Bros, young men building a brand while thinking of others.
It makes me be a better person in my daily life.
For me, it gives me a better appreciation for what I have.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. I can have like 50 pairs of shoes, and there's people out here who don't have anything, walking around with cardboard. That just doesn't logically make sense to me.
A UC study showed Black-owned businesses employed nearly 8,700 people.
What we discovered is that the economic impact of Black-owned businesses is $1.44 billion. Now that's a great figure, and that's something we should be very proud of.
If you're a survivor after COVID as a Black business, you're not operating in a small bubble. So if you're able to survive as a Black business, not only are you helping the Black community, but the community at large.
And programs like the Mortar Entrepreneurship Academy intend to keep the entrepreneurial pipeline flowing.
Essentially what we have is a 15-week program that teaches the basics of entrepreneurship. We talk everything from the financial side to branding to marketing to the legal, and we are trying to make sure that we're filling any gaps that people are missing.
Mortar says that 2/3 of its alumni are Black women. I'm Lacey Roberts reporting for Let's Talk Cincy.
Coming up, our first 100th moment. A look back on some talented kids and the use of art in underserved neighborhoods. Plus a look at the Cincinnati Symphony, its history and highlights when Let's Talk Cincy returns.
Let's Talk Cincy put a spotlight on talented kids here in the Tri-State during our 100 episodes. Ava Sine was only 14 when she made her debut with the Radio City Rockets. The Soul Bros started a nonprofit to help collect and send shoes all over the world. And back in 2019, we met Reese Smetley. She started Reese's Heart because of her heart for the homeless. She makes and donates bags with items such as food, water, toothpaste, and deodorant, even adding a note to each bag reading, "God loves you, be blessed." Let's talk about how blessed we are to have a great arts community, including the Cincinnati Pops with Maestro John Morris Russell. Cincinnati's music, an American original.
We think of the Ohio River, this incredible superhighway of industry, of thought, of the American experience. The barges that brought down coal to stoke the Industrial Revolution here also brought mountain music, music of Celtic traditions that settled in the Ohio Valley. The river also, brought consumer goods and such from New Orleans, from the Deep South, that also brought the music of Black America, of folk traditions. We found that the river was also a gateway to freedom for thousands upon thousands of enslaved people seeking refuge in Canada. And the music of the spiritual that came here and settled into this valley. And so we have all of these musical styles that came here and developed into the blues and jazz and bluegrass and rock and roll and funk. And we found that the early composers here of the early 1800s who started to put this music together and created some of the very first pages of the American Songbook. And then a couple generations later, with King Records, we hear all of this music coming to a whole nother level of sophistication. A lot of the composers and performers of this music, people have never heard their names, but they made an incredible contribution to our musical ethos that kind of defines what American music is all about.
The American Originals Project was nominated for a Grammy in 2020. Up next.
The tough issues discussed during Let's Talk Cincy's first 100 episodes and the reason why the show was developed.
During our 100 episodes, Let's Talk Cincy shined a light on communities coming together after tragedy. Dayton, Ohio is one such community. In 2019, the region was devastated by tornadoes.
I have no car now, no home, and I've been working really hard to get all this.
We shared heartbreaking stories of loss and heartwarming stories of neighbors helping neighbors. Let's Talk Cincy has tackled the issues and challenges impacting our communities during these 100 episodes. Among those issues, the infant mortality rate in African American communities, mental health, food deserts in many neighborhoods, and voter participation. Lacey Roberts shares other issues that continue to have an impact.
Let's Talk Cincy spotlighted a wide variety of issues, but the biggest affecting all of us is the coronavirus pandemic. From mask mandates to getting vaccinated, health experts helped us navigate the controversy surrounding the pandemic, and we learned about the impact of COVID-19 in every aspect of life, including schools.
Personally, I felt like I wasn't a teacher. It was like, I'm not teaching. I'm putting assignments on, I'm meeting with kids if they need help, I'm emailing parents, I'm calling parents, but I'm not teaching.
Right now, the science says that we should still be masking, we should still be doing our distancing. And anyone who can get vaccinated should get vaccinated.
Everyone is just about in the same boat. I think everyone is struggling, trying to find help.
We also showed the struggles our community is having with gun violence. Nothing illustrated the problem more than the shooting at Smale Park this year, the largest mass shooting in the history of Cincinnati.
The gun violence must stop. I plead with you as a mother, as an educator, as a daughter, because I don't think you really understand the impact that it has on families.
We need mentors. We need people willing to
let's engage with our youth. Want to spend some time. One of the things that helps youth and kids build resiliency skills is an engaging relationship with an adult.
Let's Talk Cincy will continue to be a platform for you to discuss solutions to issues affecting our community. Lacey Roberts reporting for Let's Talk Cincy.
Joining us now is the president and general manager of WLWT, Brandon Frantz. And first of all, thank you for being here. Let's talk about Let's Talk and the original concept of this show a couple of years
ago. Well, thank you, Curtis. When I came in 2017, we were airing a program at 4:30 a.m. every Sunday called Issues, and that was a public affairs offering that we provided to the community, where it gave us a little more in-depth, contextual conversations on topics that were important to Cincinnati. And I remember looking at this and having a fairly in-depth conversation with several of the news leadership in this building, and I said, there's a place for a show in this community. And I think that needs to be something that's much broader, much deeper, and much more impactful than what we're doing today. And we kind of broke the mold, so to speak, and basically reformatted the show, reprogrammed it into a new time period. We elevated it from 4:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. and obviously giving it a premium location. And with really one specific goal in mind, and that was to really go beyond the headlines of what we see every single day. We've tackled tough topics that are incredibly difficult sometimes, but I think we do that with a soft voice and in an objective opinion and view as we tackle these topics that are tough. But really, it was designed to simply give a voice to topics that otherwise don't really get that much of a discussion behind them.
Yeah, and I was telling you, I think part of the success is that we've stayed in our lane. Mm-hmm. We stayed local. It's very easy to grab these national headlines. And plus, when you think this show started before the protests in the street, the ones of 2020, before the pandemic, before George Floyd, and so a lot of things erupted that the time was right for a show like this. Yeah, it was. It certainly wasn't planned that way. We had intended on just providing a little deeper discussion on topics that were important to all of our community and the people that live here. And it certainly did pivot to a show that I feel has much more meaning today than what we had originally intended when we launched this. And I guess we'll end with where does this go from here? People should know that Channel 5 has had some kind of program since the 70s, really some kind of community program, nothing at this level. If you walk away from many things, hopefully we make a change, and we make a change for the better for the people in the cities and the communities that we serve, because that's our number one obligation as a broadcaster, is to serve communities and the people that live in these communities. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for letting us do this, too. Thank you. All right, we'll be right back. Let's Talk Cincy has been honored with several Ohio Valley Emmy Award nominations, including a show pulling back the curtain on organ donations. And in 2021, Let's Talk Cincy received an Emmy for a show called Shoot This, Not That, produced by former co-host Alexis Rogers and photojournalist Christina Rule. The show chronicled a program that gave kids cameras, encouraging them to work through their feelings through photography rather than violence. Well, during the course of our 100 episodes, we've seen people express their feelings and emotions in many ways. This final story is about a local teacher, Shawn Hubble, who wanted to use her voice to encourage her students to push past and overcome the current obstacles of the pandemic and social strife.
I just wanted to do something that was encouraging and uplifting and, just to help them to just not give up the fight. This song is called My Song to the Class of 2020. I pray you get a chance to cross that stage and throw that cap in the air. I pray you get a chance to pick that perfect dress or the suit that makes you look debonair. I felt like this would just be a great message for the entire world. Get that feeling of pride to hear the crowd cheer as you take your walk. Diploma in hand and you feel the world is yours. I'm sorry that the world came to a halt. The first line of that song, I can totally relate to because I did not get a chance to walk either. I did not know anything about how tornadoes worked until my graduation year. And so there was a clap of thunder, there was hail the size of mothballs, everyone screamed and everyone scattered. So I came home drenched, my robe was torn, my cap is probably still on the field somewhere. Oh, yes, you will. You're gonna get that 2020. Speak it so. You're gonna get that 2020. You deserve. The emotion is there, the passion is there, and that's something that's universal. You so deserve. The 2020 that the kids deserve, they can have it for the rest of their lives if they just continue to persevere.
Finally, my thanks to all the folks who work so hard to make this program happen each and every week. The producers, reporters, editors, and photographers. But most importantly, a big thank you to all of you who have watched and supported this show from the very beginning. And to those individuals whose stories we've shared. I am reminded of the words of the late journalist Raul Ramirez, who said, "I was hooked on this power of journalism to give someone a voice." Years later, he realized the power of words was not his to give. The power, he said, he came to understand, was in the stories that people choose to share. So let's continue to talk. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week for another edition of Let's Talk Cincy.